In this lesson, we'll work on the horse's next contact position. Let's move over to frame 5. We'll grab the center of gravity and our leg controls. Let's go ahead and translate the horse down. Okay, at this point, again, we'll scrub through just to make sure we like the overall flow. And now at this point, we can grab the right pelvic leg. That should plant at this time. To have it plant, we can Alt-right click and choose Transform to 0. Then once the leg is zeroed out, we can have it move forward to the point it should be at around this time. We need to be very careful to make sure we don't place this leg too far forward. Otherwise, we'll get a pause as we play back from 4 to 5. Remember, we want a good feeling of power and force as the horse gallops. So with that being said, again, we want to translate this leg back a bit more so that by the time we get to this pose, it plants quickly and we won't experience that pause in the animation we're trying to avoid. Okay, great. And remember, we'll want to look for visual cues that help make this all come together in a very believable way. So we want to definitely check for arcs and make sure that they do not only exist, but that they are accurate. So in our case, we could always head over to our motion panel and view trajectories. That will give us an idea of the current flow of things and the path of action our controls travel along, or essentially each limb, to make sure that we are staying true to that principle of animation. So make sure to check that from time to time. All right, beautiful. So we have the right back leg planted. Let's go ahead and now move to the left back leg. So this is just about ready to plant. Let's go ahead and have this translate forward, and we'll rotate the fetlock upward. Let's make sure that that happens on frame 5. Okay, beautiful. Now the right front leg, you can see how that again is curled and it's starting to swing forward. So let's go ahead and pose that. Now rotate the fetlock down. Okay, beautiful. And then we'll also need to grab the scapula control and shift that forward. Now we're ready to move to the left leg. So here, again, that's starting to swing forward. And then we'll also want the fetlock to rotate forward. If the knee controls are getting too close, feel free to go ahead and translate those forward as well. Beautiful. All right, so there is our next contact position. Let's go ahead and check our hip control. So at this point, we'll add rotation where we just kind of have the pelvis rotate up just a little bit more, and then we'll have that translate down. Then it'll start to rotate in the opposite direction, because what we're about to pose is the horse extending. So right now we can consider these poses the compressed state or squash. So we're about to start posing some stretch in our vertebrae. So we'll go ahead and make sure we have one more squash pose for our pelvis. Okay, beautiful. All right, so at this point we can go ahead and move forward from here. On frame 6, we'll grab the right pelvic leg and have that translate back. So it's right underneath the femur bone. Okay, great. As far as the left pelvic leg, then have that start to pull back. We'll rotate the fetlock forward. as it is about ready to plant. Now for the pelvis, again, we want to rotate in the opposite direction now, so let's go ahead and rotate that down. Beautiful. And that might be a bit too much. I'll go ahead and rotate it up just slightly. Okay. Now for the right front leg, that's starting to come out of its curl. Let's go to frame 6. And we'll go ahead and start to bring that forward and rotate the fetlock down. And the left leg is starting to extend. Let's go ahead and bring that forward. And rotate the fetlock forward. And as a point of reference, you can see the right fetlock is slightly higher than the left fetlock. If we were to take a look at the thoracic limbs in our reference. So let's make sure that pose exists in our animation. I'll now go to the scapulas and start to slide those forward. Do the same thing for the left leg. Go ahead and slide that forward on frame 6. And we could also add a pose on frame 5. I would like to point out that the pose that we've just added on frame 5, a few of those type of poses will be cleaned up to the point where we may not even need the key there, but it's just good to have so that when we test the playback, we have an idea of what we would like to see before we actually get in and start to clean everything up. All right, beautiful. Now here on frame 6, we're going to want to bring the center of gravity down just a little bit here. Beautiful. And then when we get to frame 7, it's going to come down just a little bit more, but then we'll start to bring it up once the front legs start to plant. So we do have a down position, but we don't want it to be extreme at all. Otherwise, the horse will look very cartoony. It will break the realism we're trying to create. All right, so everything is looking very well. Let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson and continue working on the horse's stretch position during the animation.